Have you ever wondered why anxiety seems to take over your mind, even when everything appears to be under control? It's as if every time you try to calm your mind, a new storm of thoughts invades, pulling you into a whirlpool of uncertainties and fears. That feeling of being trapped inside an endless cycle is what led me to seek answers beyond the usual approaches. I know that heaviness in your chest, the shortness of breath that comes out of nowhere, and that paralyzing fear that stops you in your tracks. But it was when I discovered the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda that everything started to shift. What I want to share here is more than just a temporary solution. It's a new way to understand and overcome anxiety and fear. Are you willing to take this first step with me? How many times have you tried to fight off anxiety, only to watch it grow stronger? I know the feeling. It seems like the harder we push it away, the more it tightens its grip on us. Sweaty palms, a racing heart, and that overwhelming sense of standing on the edge of a cliff, even when there's no visible danger. And as if that weren't enough, each failed attempt to control these feelings brings a fresh wave of guilt and frustration. This type of anguish doesn't just stay in our minds. It paralyzes our actions, damages relationships, and prevents us from experiencing the genuine joy of being present. We start avoiding situations, building walls around ourselves, and our world shrinks, little by little, day by day. Opportunities slip through our fingers because the fear of failure outweighs the desire to try. Anxiety then becomes more than a mental struggle. It begins to dictate how we live each and every moment. But why is it so hard to break free from this cycle? Because anxiety is fueled by our constant need for control. We crave answers for every uncertainty. We seek guarantees in a world that is, by nature, unpredictable. And in this relentless pursuit, we lose ourselves in a maze of worries, distancing ourselves further and further from the peace we desperately crave. The more we try to control, the more anxious we become. I realized this in a moment of complete desperation. I tried to resist, to fight, until exhaustion made me see that I was battling against myself. The question that haunted me was, is there a way out? Is there a way to truly break this cycle? That's when I discovered that the answer lay in a direction I hadn't considered, not in more control, but in letting go. If you feel this inner struggle too, then you're already on the right path to transformation. Because, just like me, you've reached the point where you understand that you need a new perspective. You're ready to stop fighting the battle and start understanding the fear instead of trying to destroy it. When anxiety and fear take hold, they don't stay confined to just one corner of your life. They spill over, affecting everything you do. Your career, your relationships, your self-esteem. It's like living under a shadow where every decision, no matter how small, is tinted by worry and hesitation. You start questioning yourself, doubting your abilities, and even those moments that should be joyful are tainted by that lingering, nagging sensation in the back of your mind. And it doesn't stop there. Anxiety drains your energy, leaving you exhausted before you even begin your day. It robs you of sleep, disrupts your focus, and makes it feel almost impossible to move forward. The things you once loved become burdens. Activities that used to bring a sense of fulfillment now seem like insurmountable tasks. everything becomes colored by fear, and soon, the fear isn't just of failing, it's of trying at all. Relationships begin to suffer. The people closest to you feel distant, not because they've changed, but because your fear puts up barriers. You start to avoid conversations, skip out on social gatherings, and hide behind a mask of forced calmness. Every missed opportunity for connection deepens the loneliness, creating a vicious cycle that only reinforces the anxiety. It's like being stuck in a loop, replaying the same movie over and over again. Except, in this movie, every scene is filled with self-doubt, hesitation, and that relentless internal critic pointing out everything that could go wrong. The more you try to silence that voice, the louder it gets, drowning out every ounce of courage and hope. I know because I lived it. Day in and day out, it felt like I was shrinking, like my world was getting smaller and smaller. And I realized that no external change, no success, no achievement could pull me out of it. I needed something deeper, something that could go straight to the root of the fear itself. That's when I started to search for answers, and my search led me to Yogananda's teachings. His wisdom offered a way to not only understand the problem, but to transcend it. During that dark period, I stumbled upon the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, and it was as if I had found a light in the middle of a dense, endless fog. His words resonated with a depth I had never experienced before. He spoke of peace, not as a fleeting emotion, but as an unshakable state of being that lies beneath the surface of our restless thoughts. He described fear and anxiety as shadows, mere illusions that dissipate the moment we connect with our true, higher selves. What truly stood out was his perspective on control. I had always tried to force myself into calmness, to control my racing thoughts. But Yogananda's wisdom showed me that real mastery comes not from controlling the mind, but from observing it, understanding it, and ultimately transcending it. It's not about silencing the mind, but letting go of the need for it to be silent. This was a revelation to me, a way of surrendering that felt more powerful than any struggle I'd ever engaged in. The core practice that transformed my life was the Kriya Yoga technique he taught. It's a method that goes beyond meditation. It's a way of harmonizing the body, mind, and soul through breath control and mental focus. It's not an escape from fear, it's a way of facing it, unraveling it, and watching it dissolve into nothingness. For the first time, I stopped trying to banish anxiety, and instead, I learned to sit with it, to breathe through it, to observe it without judgment. The more I practiced, the more I realized anxiety and fear are like waves on the surface of the ocean. But we are not the waves, we are the deep, calm waters beneath. The deeper I went within myself, the less power those waves had over me. They still rose and fell, but they no longer controlled me. This sense of detachment brought an inner stillness that I had never known before. Yogananda's teachings gave me a path to walk, a path that doesn't promise a life free from challenges, but a way to stand firm amidst them, a way to find peace, even when the mind wants to spiral into chaos. And that peace, once found, became a solid foundation, a place I could return to whenever anxiety threatened to pull me under. When I started practicing Yogananda's techniques, I wasn't looking for just another quick fix. I wanted a way to break free from the grip that fear had over me, What I found in Kriya Yoga was not an immediate escape, but a gradual unveiling of something deeper. Sense of inner peace that remained steady even when anxiety flared up. And the key was in the practice of breath control, meditation, and self-awareness. Each day, I would sit quietly, focusing on my breath, letting it flow naturally. No force, no tension, just a gentle observation. Yogananda described this as listening to the breath, as if it were a friend guiding me inward. In those moments, I felt a shift. The anxious thoughts would still come, but they felt less imposing, less powerful. I began to see them not as enemies, but as clouds passing by, temporary and without real substance. One of the most transformative techniques was the simple act of inhaling and exhaling deeply while mentally affirming, "I am calm. I am at peace." I repeated this affirmation not to force a change, but to create a new mental pattern, one that welcomed peace instead of resisting fear. It's amazing how something as simple as mindful breathing can create space between you and your anxiety. But this practice goes beyond breathwork. Yogananda emphasized the importance of introspection, taking time to reflect on what triggers the fear. I started journaling, asking myself questions like, what is this fear trying to teach me? And what am I really afraid of losing? This process revealed layers of subconscious fears I had never acknowledged. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being vulnerable. As I continued this journey, I noticed a subtle yet profound change. The anxiety didn't vanish, but its power over me diminished. I no longer reacted impulsively when fear arose. Instead, I could pause, take a breath, and observe it without getting lost in it. I began to experience what Yogananda called witness consciousness, the ability to see yourself and your thoughts from a higher perspective. Through these practices, I realized that peace is not something you chase, it's something you uncover. It's already there, buried beneath the surface of restless thoughts and turbulent emotions. The more I practiced, the clearer this truth became. Fear may be loud, but peace is deeper. It's always waiting for us to turn inward and find it. Slowly, as I embraced these practices, something began to shift within me. I started waking up with a sense of calm that I hadn't felt in years. The weight on my chest that once made it hard to breathe seemed lighter, more manageable. I could feel my thoughts slowing down, and that constant sense of urgency started to fade away. It wasn't that the fears disappeared overnight, but they no longer controlled my every move. Interactions that once felt overwhelming became easier. I found myself speaking more openly, engaging in conversations without the familiar rush of anxious thoughts clouding my mind. Instead of withdrawing, I started leaning into those moments, observing my discomforts but not letting it dictate my behavior. For the first time, I felt a genuine sense of connection with others, because I wasn't hiding behind my anxiety. Even my body responded differently. That tightness in my shoulders, the knots in my stomach, they began to release. It was as if my whole being was slowly unwinding from years of tension. Sleep came more naturally, and I woke up with a sense of vitality and energy that I hadn't known for so long. I realized that this practice was not just healing my mind, but also transforming my body, and the most profound change. A newfound confidence that emerged from within. It wasn't based on external achievements or validation from others. It was a quiet, steady assurance that came from knowing I could face my fears without running. That I had the tools to navigate anxiety, no matter how intense it became. This confidence wasn't loud or boastful, it was a soft, inner strength that grounded me in a way nothing else had. These transformations didn't just change how I felt, they changed how I lived. Decisions I once avoided out of fear, I began to approach with curiosity and even excitement. I stopped being a passive observer of my life and started engaging with it moment by moment. And that shift from fearing life to embracing it was the greatest gift I could have received. If there's one thing I've learned from this journey, it's that the power to overcome anxiety and fear doesn't come from the outside, it's found within. It's not about changing the circumstances of your life or trying to avoid discomfort. It's about changing your relationship with those feelings and finding the courage to face them with a sense of calm and detachment. And that's exactly what Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings offer, a way to embrace that power within yourself. You don't have to be a prisoner of your thoughts anymore. The practices I've shared aren't difficult or complicated. They don't require hours of commitment or special skills. All it takes is a willingness to sit with yourself, to breathe deeply, and to look inward with honesty and compassion. To realize that every moment of fear is an invitation to explore and release what's been holding you back. Imagine what your life could look like if you weren't constantly pulled down by anxiety. Imagine waking up each morning with a sense of peace and purpose. Imagine feeling that inner stillness, no matter what storms are brewing around you. This isn't some distant dream, it's a reality that you can create. All it takes is the decision to begin. So, what's stopping you from taking that first step? What fears are holding you back from embracing this path and reclaiming your peace of mind? The answers you seek are already within you. All you need is the willingness to discover them. And I promise you, the journey inward is worth every moment. Stepping onto this path isn't about reaching a final destination. It's about learning to navigate the terrain of your inner world with a sense of calm and curiosity. The journey to overcoming anxiety and fear is ongoing. It's about meeting each wave of discomfort with the steady presence you cultivate through practice. There will be days when the fear returns, stronger than ever, and that's okay, because now you have a way to face it. Think of every setback, every moment of doubt as an opportunity to dive deeper into these teachings. When fear knocks on your door, invite it in, breathe through it, and remind yourself of the quiet strength that lies within you. Each time you do, you're retraining your mind, dissolving the patterns that once kept you trapped. Little by little, anxiety loses its power, and you regain yours. This journey is not about eliminating fear, but about embracing it as a catalyst for growth. It's about learning to see every anxious thought, every rush of panic, not as a threat, but as a signal that points to something within you that's ready to be healed and released. And with every breath you take, you create more space for peace, for confidence, for joy. So don't rush through this process. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate each small victory, each moment of calm, and know that you're building a solid foundation that will support you through whatever challenges come your way. Yogananda's wisdom is there to guide you, but it's your own dedication, your own willingness to show up and do the work that will bring about true transformation. I invite you to take this journey step by step, day by day, to let go of expectations and embrace the unfolding process. You have everything you need within you. Keep breathing, keep observing, and most importantly, keep believing in the peace that's always been there, waiting for you to find it. And if you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, come back. Here, this community is here to support you. Are you ready to continue uncovering that inner peace, one breath at a time? If this resonates with you, if you feel that spark of hope stirring inside, then I encourage you to dive deeper. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and join me on this journey of transformation. Together, we'll continue exploring these teachings and practices that can truly change your life. Why not start today?